Hello everyone, and welcome to English Grammar with Max. Today we want to talk about modal verbs again, just like our previous lesson. But it was about modals in the present. Today we want to talk about modals in the past. And actually we said that in the previous session we use modal verbs for functions in English. And we named several functions like ability, probability, obligation, suggestion, and so on. We reviewed them in the present in the previous session. Today, we want to review them in the past. So if you want to know how we express functions using modal verbs in English, go and watch our previous video. Then you can watch this one. The first function we want to talk about is ability. As you might remember, we use can or is able to when we want to express ability in the present. But in the past, we use could and was able to. But there is some difference between could and was able to. I'm going to explain to you right now. One example, she could swim when she was 6. So we are talking about a past time, and we are talking about a general ability that someone had in the past. We could also say she was able to swim when she was 6. So we could use could and was able to both to express a general ability in the past. But sometimes we are dealing with a particular situation in the past. For example, you needed help last night and you asked someone to help you. We say someone was able to help us. It means someone could help you and did help you. Example, he was able to fix the car yesterday. It means we had a situation yesterday. The car was broken and we needed someone to fix it. We could say he could fix the car yesterday, but it doesn't give us much information. It doesn't say that yes, he could, he had the ability to fix the car yesterday, but did he fix it? That is the question when you use could. But if you use he was able to fix the car yesterday, it means he had the ability and he did fix the car yesterday. So this is the difference between could and was able to. Again, we use could and was able to express a general ability in the past. But if you have a specific situation and you want to say something happened, we use was able to or were able to for plural and you. The next function we want to talk about is deduction. As you may remember, deduction in the present, we use must for positive deduction. We say, for example, he must be a teacher. It means we know for certain that, based on some signs or evidence, that he or she is a teacher. And we use can't. We say, for example, he can't be a doctor, because we know for certain based on some evidence that he is not a doctor. But when we want to express deduction in the past, instead of must, we use must have plus past participle of the main verb. And for a negative deduction, we use can't have plus past participle. Example, I must have left my phone at home. It means I don't have my phone now. I'm making a deduction based on the evidence. And we say I must have left my phone at home. It means something happened, leaving the phone at home happened in the past. A negative form of deduction is she can't have done it. It means something like a crime happened. We say that she can't have done it because she was abroad at the time of the crime. It means we are saying that we are certain that she is not the one to blame. Okay, the next function is probability. We use might, may, and could for probability in the present, and we use might have plus past participle, or may have plus past participle, or could have plus past participle to express probability in the past. Example, he may have forgotten about the meeting. It means it is probable that he has forgotten about the meeting. We could use may have forgotten, might have forgotten, and could have forgotten, with no difference in meaning. But let's take a look at this example. They may or might not have invited them. It means it is probable that They haven't invited them. But because the sentence is negative, we only have two options, may and might. Because when you use couldn't have plus past participle, you're not expressing probability anymore. You're expressing certainty. When we say Jerry couldn't have done it, we are expressing a negative deduction in here. So in here, it's like saying Jerry can't have done it. Couldn't have done it and can't have done it are both expressing deduction, certainty, not probability anymore. There is a very important point about the difference between can and could. Pay close attention to this table here. To express ability in the present, we use can. To express ability in the past, we use could. We could also use could in the present, just like the sentence I just told you. We could use could for the present. This could is not about the past anymore. As you can see, we have one could here for ability in the past. We have one could here for probability in the present. Okay? Look, so again, for ability in the present can, ability in the past could, probability in the present could, probability in the past could have. Just like what we talked about a few minutes ago. Take a look at these two examples. We could do it tomorrow. We could do it yesterday. This could is different from this could. This could is referring to the present or to the future. It means it is expressing not ability, but probability. We could do it tomorrow. It means it is possible that we will do it tomorrow. But this sentence is talking about a past time. We could do it yesterday. It means in here we are expressing ability in the past because we are talking about a past time. It means yesterday we had the ability to do something. The next function is obligation. As you may remember again from the previous video, we use must and have to express obligation. Look at this example. In the past tenses, we cannot use must anymore because must only could be used in the present and for the future. So we use had to. We had to arrive early. This is the function of obligation. Sometimes it could be in the negative form. It means the function is a lack of obligation. It means something was not necessary to be done. So we say we didn't have to arrive early. So for positive, we had to plus the base form. And for negative, just like a normal verb, we use the auxiliary verb didn't to make it negative. We didn't have to arrive early. But there are other verbs we could use to express obligation or a lack of obligation, means no obligation. Look at these two examples very carefully. They didn't need to pay. Need is one of the verbs we could use to express obligation. For example, in a positive example, we say we needed to do that, or we didn't need to do that is the negative form. We could also use need in a different way. We could use need like this, like a modal verb. It means we don't use an auxiliary verb anymore to make it negative. We put not right after need. So need itself in here is our auxiliary verb. They didn't need to pay. They needn't have paid. This is the past participle of the base form, and both of these sentences are expressing a lack of obligation in the past. But there is a difference between these two sentences. When you say they didn't need to pay and they needn't have paid, both of them mean that it wasn't necessary for them to pay. So what is the difference? When you say they didn't need to pay, it means it wasn't necessary and they didn't pay. They didn't pay. But when you say they needn't have paid, it means it wasn't necessary, but they did pay anyway. Now, the last function we want to talk about before the exercises is advice. In the present, we use should and ought to, or ought not to, or shouldn't for giving advice. But in the past, just like the other functions, many of them, we use should plus have plus past participle of the main verb. The same meaning we can create with ought to have plus past participle. Take a look at these two examples. You should have, this is the contracted form of should have. You should have listened, and this is the past participle form of the verb listen, which is our main verb in this sentence. You should have listened to your teacher. It means actually in here we are criticizing somebody for not listening to their teacher in the past. It means that would be a good idea if they had listened to their teacher. Look at this example. This is a positive example and this is a negative one. They ought not to have made so much noise. Ought not to have, this is ought to, this is the negative form of ought to have, and made is the past participle form of the main verb of your sentence, make. So they ought not to have made so much noise. It means they did make so much noise, but they shouldn't have done it, or they ought not to have done it. Okay, now let's do some exercises together.
So, let's start with the first exercise. For each question, complete the second sentence so that it means the same as the first, using no more than 3 words. Contractions count as 1 word. A. I'm sure you dropped your wallet at the bus stop. In here, we are expressing our certainty about something, so we use must. And because it is in the past, we use must have plus past participle form of the main verb. You must have dropped your wallet at the bus stop. B. Maybe Joanna missed the last bus. In here, there is a probability, not a certainty, and it is a positive sentence, so we could use may, might, or could have missed the last bus. C. Peter knew how to skate when he was 12. In here we are talking about a general ability in the past, so we use could. We could also say Peter was able to skate when he was 12. D. Emma was wrong not to tell you the answer. This is a piece of advice, so we use should have told you, or ought to have told you. Emma should have told you the answer. Should have is the contracted form of should have. E. It wasn't necessary for us to pay to get in. This is a lack of obligation, so we didn't have to pay to get in, or we could say we didn't need to pay to get in, or we needn't have paid to get in. But the third option, because we cannot use paid in here, the pay is already there, is not possible. F. I'm sure that Diana didn't take your books. In here we are expressing a certainty. We are saying that we are certain that something is not the case, so a negative deduction. So Diana can't have taken your books. Or we could also say couldn't have taken your books. G. Perhaps David didn't notice you. This is probability, so David might not have noticed you or may not have noticed you, but we cannot say could not have noticed you, because that is considered negative deduction. H. Terry arrived early, but it wasn't necessary. So in here we want to say it wasn't necessary, but Terry did arrive early anyway. So we use Terry needn't have arrived early. I. It wasn't necessary for me to buy food yesterday. I didn't have to buy food yesterday, or I didn't need to buy food yesterday. J. It was a bad idea to be rude to the policeman. This is again advice, so we use shouldn't have been rude to the policeman, or we ought not have been rude to the policeman. Next exercise. Rewrite each sentence beginning as shown. Do not change the meaning. A. You were wrong to study so late. Again, This is a piece of advice for the past time, so you shouldn't have studied so late. B. Did you manage to stop him? I managed to do something. When we use it for the past time, it means I was able to do something. It has the same meaning as I was able to, or to be able to. So did you manage to stop him? It means were you able to stop him? C. It wasn't necessary to work hard. I didn't have to work hard, or I didn't need to work hard. D. Perhaps Tim has lost his way. This is probability again. So Tim might is already there. Tim might have lost his way. E. It was possible for you to hurt yourself. This is probability in the past. So, and could is already there. So you could have hurt yourself. And the past participle form of hurt is hurt. F. It would have been a good idea to tell you. Again, this is advice. So you to tell me. You should have told me. G. I'm sure the class enjoyed it. This is expressing certainty. So the class must have enjoyed it. H. I helped her, but it wasn't necessary. I needn't have helped her. I. It was a mistake to leave. Again, this is advice. You ought not to have left. J. I'm sure the butler didn't do it. Again, certainty, negative deduction, so the butler can't have done it.
Thank you for watching another video of English Grammar with Max. See you next week.